This show is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/ElderScrollsLorecast.
Robots Radio presents The Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, a place where the Elder Scrolls community can come together to discuss the boundaries of our knowledge about the universe of the Elder Scrolls. All right, adventurers, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. This is part 3 of our little series that we've been doing this month on the different games and the way they've evolved and changed over time. So I hope you guys are buckled in for some weird ones today. I'm your host, Tom, or Robots. You can call me either. And I'm here, as usual, with Lotus of Doom. How you doing, Lotus?
I am well. I am very well.
Well, good. Yeah. Lotus raided over. He was streaming some of the new content, trying to get those new CPs.
Yep. Lots of changes in Elder Scrolls Online for those of you who played the most recent online version of the game. Lots of new stuff hitting console, and it hit PC 2 weeks ago now, I guess it would be. So, yep. Definitely so far feels good, like some good changes to the game.
That's good. That's good. I've dug in a little bit. I've respect my character, my main character at least. I'm so as with all of these these games, like, I don't know, there's something about playing MMOs where I'm just like, I just want to make another character. I want to make another character.
I feel like I am in the extreme minority that does not run like 30 different characters. I really just kind of run my one, but that's how I play all of the games. I just kind of like, and people think it's strange that it's just like, oh, you have 2,000 hours in Skyrim. How many mods do you use? None. Okay, how many characters you have? One. And they're like, what are you still doing?
What is there left to do?
I was like, I don't know. There could be a rock. I haven't found what's under it yet. Who knows?
Yeah. It's like me in video games. So many people just pick one or two games and they just stick with them, and I just have to bounce around all the time. So I don't know. It's just personalities. You know, we enjoy things in different ways, which is cool. But I'm considering starting another character. One of the things there's a few things I want to do before we get into the topic today at the beginning of the show to kind of just get out of the way. Some fun things going on. First and most importantly, before I get into this reason why I might start another alt, first and most importantly, we are setting up a potential interview with somebody very important behind Elder Scrolls Online. And I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about putting some questions together, but then I was like, you know what? We should open this up to the community because you guys will give us the questions that you want to hear the answers to, not just the things that we want to hear the answers to. So I have put on our Discord a channel on the Robots Radio Discord, and you can get to it in chat right now. If you type here, I'll just type !Discord. You can see the link to the Robots Radio Discord. There is a channel. Look for a channel called Questions for Zos. And it's down in the Elder Scrolls section. There's a whole bunch of sub-channels. And we want your questions. What would you ask them if you had the opportunity to ask them something about the new content coming this year, how they made it, what their goals are, future changes, anything that you would want to find out about? Post some questions in there, and we will do our best to go through all the questions that we get, pick out the best questions, and potentially on a future episode of this podcast, have a guest here with us in order to answer your questions directly. So please join us in that. If you were listening, not live, you can always do this later. We're going to give it about a week and a half, because I want to get them the list of questions so that they can kind of review them, make sure everything's cool. They're willing to talk about all the specific stuff, and then we'll be able to set up our interview. So don't dilly dally. Get those questions in there for us, and we'll pass them on.
Apologizing for all the tease because we can't really say anything.
We can't say anything. It needs to be finalized, but we have an opportunity to potentially have a really cool interview. So, so we want to get your stuff. You know, like what do you want to know? So let us know. Again, !Discord if you are here during the live show. We'll pull up the link. Also, the other thing, you guys know that sometimes in between the regular episodes, there's Boots. Boots is in the background. Hi, Boots. Lotus's dog. In between the regular episodes, sometimes I'll do these game episodes where I'm like role playing through Elder Scrolls Online or Skyrim or something like that. What I've decided to do is take that concept and put it in its own feed, because there's a lot of games. I do this with Fallout sometimes, but there's a lot of other games. We're launching a Mass Effect Lorecast coming up. It'll be on Sunday nights at 10:30. Kung Fu Kangaroo, who's in chat, will be doing that show with me, and Kung Fu Kangaroo is knows everything basically about Mass Effect. And so with the whole redone version of the game coming out soon, and potentially new episodes, new games for that coming out, we're gonna start talking about Mass Effect lore, because it's such a wonderful, juicy universe full of all sorts of cool stuff. So that's coming up. But with that game and all the other games that I do, I'm going to put out a feed, and I think I'm going to call it Robots Role Plays. It'll be a podcast feed of audio of me role playing through, and I'm probably going to start with Elder Scrolls Online, and that's why I'm going to make an alt. And I think I'm going to start at the very beginning and go through from the very beginning, the like core quests in the game, and just mainline the core quests, because a lot of that stuff has been out for years. It's not really a spoiler, but it's something I can kind of play with and, role play my way through. And then I'll get through some of the other content as well. And maybe every so often I'll switch games and I'll play through maybe some of the Mass Effect games, and maybe I'll play through some Fallout or whatever. And it's kind of a fun thing. So if you're into those episodes, in just a few weeks, look up Robots Role Plays, and it'll be available everywhere. So that's it. Let's get done with I don't know what this is called. The stuff we have to do before. Plugs. Yeah, the plugs and promos and stuff. I just wanted to get that stuff out of the way, but mostly I want your questions. I mean, more than anything, send us your questions so that we can get those set up and going. Lotus, let's talk about some of these other games, these other Elder Scrolls games that I think there's a lot of people who don't even know. Like if you were to walk into a crowd of, I don't know, people at a convention and be like, hey, list all the non-main Elder Scrolls games. Like, yes, I think people might be able to pick up like one or two and be like, oh, wasn't there one that was like Redguard, and then wasn't there?
Right. Like this is so for our finale of this, it's going to be, this is the real random ones. This is getting super esoteric on what exists here in the series.
These are the deep cuts.
These are the deep cuts.
These are the B-sides that get released only.
Why don't we start, I suppose, with all right. There's a few of these that even I have not really dabbled too much into. I've got a little understanding of them because I do have versions of them that I will be able to stream when I eventually get to it in my quest to beat all Elder Scrolls games. Mm-hmm. But a few of these I do need to kind of give an overview on. Also, there's not that much to talk about with a few of them because there's barely anything there.
Right.
Details.
But that's fine. That's fine. And then after we get through all of these, stay tuned for the second half of the episode. We're going to go over some of the new events coming to Elder Scrolls Online, including the Jesters Festival. And I've got like images and videos of some of the stuff that you can unlock, because I love the Jesters Festival. It's so wacky. But anyway, yes. let's get to the games.
All right. So why don't we start with the other big box game, I guess, from an age past, was the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, which the story to Elder Scrolls Redguard is actually somewhat integral and it's a pretty cool story. It's got some FMVs. It's Todd Howard's first directorial project.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't come across that info on this.
Yes. So if the thing that, so I have played and beaten this game, not on stream. This was way back before I was really all that involved with the community. So this was like 3.5 years ago, I guess. I played and suffered through Redguard. And I'll explain why in a minute. But my joke suffering isn't so much a joke when it comes to Elder Scrolls Redguard. I noticed I noticed Todd Howard was credited as I think it might have been creative director or something like that, but he was like in the title screen, and I was like, oh my God, this one's done by Todd Howard. This must have been when the series found its footing. I wonder why everyone hates this game. It is not an RPG. It is not an open world. It's not even a game where you make your own character. You play the adventure of this Redguard exile kind of deal or pirate.
Yeah, it says it's pirate themed.
It's very pirate themed because it's on Stros Mackay.
Mm-hmm.
But you yourself fight a lot more pirates than you are a pirate yourself, but you have like a piratey background. So it is an adventure game, like a puzzle platformer adventure game. The best way I can explain the gameplay of Elder Scrolls Redguard is the old original Tomb Raider games, where you had to like line up your walking pattern and then try to make these jumps to other platforms. Combat was clunky and not really that's saying something when my favorite game is Morrowind, and I don't try to sugarcoat how clunky the gameplay is in that. The gameplay in this is clunky.
Yeah.
And it has some of the most over the top voice acting. There's a great picture of it.
Yeah, this is from a video, and I think this might even be like one of the intro video or something.
Intro.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, this is one of the intro videos for anybody who's watching. So the FMVs for the time are actually pretty neat. It's kind of cool. They've got the bookshelf thing going like they usually do. It involves so
this is so late 90s. Oh, by the way, this was 1998. So there was Daggerfall, and then there was
then we got Battlespire.
Battlespire.
And this was
this one.
Project
like
League
1 year after each other. Yeah, 1 year after each other. Like 1 year, and then next year, and then next year. These were all released in order.
Okay, so how I can some of the bullet points of this, because this will at least be one of the larger ones all around. It's got a very interesting story. You encounter some interesting characters, one of which, for anybody who plays Elder Scrolls Online, there is a certain red someone from the Elsewhere expansion that is actually a character and boss in this game, which is pretty crazy, the tie-ins that you get. There's some interesting references to things that you'll see later in the series, but the biggest issue with this game, you'll encounter a slowed as well. Like it's the first look at many things.
Oh, dude, look at this Khajiit. He's got like 10 polygons.
Yes, he does. And actually, as Benefactor mentioned in chat, one of the things about this is a contained, I'd call it kind of a short story, because it's contained in and of itself. Playing this game, I do not recommend. Seeing the story to this game, I do recommend. It is a really cool condensed storyline. And even though like you don't make your own character, you play through the adventure of Silas, which is neat. Like it's a good all-around storyline, and it ties into many important events in the series. The big problem is the gameplay is atrocious as far as I'm concerned. It's very, very sloppy. Like, yeah, they're not even showing combat. I was going to say he was getting piratey attacked and stuff.
I'm skipping. I'm trying to find places. Okay, so, here he is running around.
It's there. Yeah. So the video feed is, the frame rate is rough. There's a lot of things that are rough. It's not really open world necessarily. I mean, it is ish, but it's not like an open world adventure like you're used to with what the series brings. That's not the point of this. The fighting is very, very sloppy, and as you can see from the video, they have subtitles on. They never shut up in this game. Every fight is just 4 repeated things just on a loop, and it's insane. I found the game very, very difficult personally. I'm not good at platformers, and the platforming is an experience to say the least, but it is a very big departure from what anything else the Elder Scrolls really has to offer. I guess if you don't like the rest of the series, maybe this is more up your alley, but this is a weird entry point. But yeah, great props to the story. Really, really strange with the audio again, but the story ended up mattering a lot to the series and was really cool when I played through it. But it also did not do very well because
it wasn't a great game. Yeah.
Because it was, I was going to say, some of that I'm always like, I always like to give it my flavor of like, so I didn't personally like this. Well, in the grand scheme of things, very few people personally liked that game. So, I mean, it is what it is. Not without its value, but it's certainly a relic in time. Watch somebody else play it rather than play it yourself, probably.
Yeah. Watch a video or just read a recap of the story.
The flip side, it's on Good Old Games. So, if you want to give it a try, I think it's super, super cheap. A remake would be very interesting to see of a game like that. Then, I guess, do we want to go back further or to? I guess we're just kind of at this point we're all mobile games.
Yeah, so I don't. Is there anything further back? Arena, Daggerfall, Battlespire, Redguard. That's the order so far.
Yes, so we can. You know what? We might as well just go with the timetable, I suppose.
Yeah, because then Morrowind came out 4 years later, and that was the kind of their Hail Mary. That was their like, okay, these games have been really sucky. Let's do something really big and good, and that was, all right, evolutionary.
Almost simultaneously, because it actually involves the music, called Peaceful Waters, which is one of my favorite Elder Scrolls tracks. We reached the game Elder Scrolls Travels. What is it? Shadowkey. I don't know why I spaced on that name. Shadowkey is an Elder Scrolls spin-off game that it's not open world. All right, well, I guess I'll preface all of this by saying it is only on the N-Gage.
Right, yes. Which, if Lotus is saying N-Gage and you're either, 10 years younger than we are, or most humans on this planet at this point, you're going to be like, what is an N-Gage? What? It's on the N-Gage? Yes, the N-Gage was I believe it was Nokia. It was like Nokia's attempt
Nokia N-Gage,
at making a crossover phone/gaming portable platform. So think of it as kind of like a Game Boy Advance /phone of its time.
Yes. And as it's mentioned in chat by, and I want to specifically shout out TAS Benefactor and the Imperial Library. If you don't know the Imperial Library site, they are another great resource, just like the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages. Benefactor is actually the one who let me know that after years of work, an emulator for this game has finally been completed, because originally,
this is it on the screen. Yeah.
I love it.
2004.
So this game came out a year after Morrowind.
This is like, just look at the size of the pixels. I'm sorry. If you are listening to this episode and you want to see this stuff, then make sure you check out the Robots Radio YouTube channel, because this will all be up on the YouTube. But yes, for people who can't see it on the screen right now, the number of pixels on here is probably something like 60 by 80.
Yes, it is. It is incredibly, and actually, you know what? For the sake of clarity, I will actually grab my N-Gage in a minute and show everybody on the stream what it looks like. But an N-Gage is an incredibly old form of phone it was a phone, but they started trying to do some pretty creative video game stuff with it. But I will be able to stream this game for everybody, because this is definitely up there as one of the least known games. Because up until very recently, unless you owned an N-Gage, which I was given an N-Gage and I purchased the game myself just so I could play through it, there was no other way to play this game. So it was trapped on this very, very abstract platform. It surprisingly feels like if you jam an Elder Scrolls game on an N-Gage. The frame rate is abhorrent, and the screen is literally like 2 inches, so it's very hard to see, and it's super reflective, which is rough. But getting into the game itself, it's a very condensed. The open world is broken into load zones. You do jump from major locations. The Crypt of Hearts is in there. You go to Dragonstar, the city of Dragonstar, just like from Elder Scrolls Online. These are all like things that you encounter in this game. It's got Khajiits and Imperials and Nords, and like you pick your race, like, and your class. It's for what it is, it's very, very ambitious. However, it is on a platform that was not ready for this type of thing. This was too ambitious for its own good. It took a lot of getting used to play. It was pretty rough to play through, to say the least. But I actually kind of enjoyed it once I got going. It was very similar to the Elder Scrolls Arena. You kind of build a love-hate relationship with how old the game is and its restrictions at the time. But it was another edition of the series that's very interesting, but at the same time, very little outside of Shadowkey actually has anything to do with anything. Redguard had some tie-ins. Shadowkey, not as much. They delve into shadow magic a lot and stuff like that, and I don't really ever, at least not that I've ever encountered, run into too much. The only thing is, like I said, some of the locations were very reminiscent, but one incredibly rare nod, because I love the little just callbacks to different things. There is a pickpocketable item in Elder Scrolls Online. It is a purple drop. It is incredibly rare, but if you pickpocket this item, you will get a thing called a Star Tooth. And a Star Tooth is one of the collectible items that you need to complete the main quest in Shadowkey. Huh. And somebody put it in as an item that you can pickpocket. So it isn't totally forgotten by the rest of the series, but it's definitely less paid attention to say the least.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, having looked at the screens here, it looks like you have like a whole view distance of maybe 6 feet.
That's pretty generous, I'd say, even. Yeah, you can get just beyond like your own arms, and that's about as far out as you can see.
Yeah.
And the thing I had mentioned earlier about that song Peaceful Waters, which I love, it is on like a 9-second loop in that game.
Yeah, because of the limited storage space. They're like, yes. Yeah, we've got like 5 kilobytes for sound. Let's just loop these 9 seconds over and over again.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? So that's a little rough. Another thing that I shouldn't be remiss in mentioning, this game also technically had multiplayer. Yeah, co-op multiplayer. Bluetooth co-op. Yes, you could. I have not tried it, as I only know like one other person, and he's in chat that has an N-Gage. And we did not think to bring them to the ESO Vegas event. But I was going to say, that is another potential. Apparently, there is a reference to it in Skyrim as well, with Neloth mentioning a Shadow Mage. Oh, actually, I remember that now. And then there's the Cryptoheart reference with, so the Star Teeth thing. So, so there's actually a second one, which is pretty crazy. But with how rough of a time that game was to actually run, I can't imagine co-op would go that much better either. No. But yeah, it was a thing. You can't fault them for not being ambitious.
Right. And most of these were like side projects, mostly done by other studios that were just using the Elder Scrolls as a known IP in order to put something out there. Right. And oftentimes the stories were not even written by anybody who had previously worked on the Elder Scrolls, there was a lot of just kind of like, well, here, let's try and do an Elder Scrolls game with a different studio on a mobile device and just see how that works, because mobile is the way of the future. And they're right. They were right. It just wasn't on the N-Gage. Yeah. They were a little bit too early. Like had they waited a few years and put it down on, say, an iPhone, then maybe it would have worked out better.
Right. And that's where we kind of get the other two games, which are the information I have on these is limited because I have not actually played these. I have files that I can actually run them, but there are two other Travels games and one Travels / unreleased game, which that would be the Oblivion Mobile game is a thing. It wasn't actually released. So because it wasn't actually released, I don't really consider that too important. I mean, it's neat and it had the potential to be something interesting.
Yeah.
But unreleased stuff is unreleased stuff.
It never saw the light of day. So not really a thing.
Right. It's more of an interesting note in the history of Elder Scrolls rather than the other one. And then there is also like that phone version one, which actually there's a couple of them where there's the Oblivion on phone, there's Dawnstar. Yes, I'm sorry. I was going to say I should actually get these to double check. Yeah, Dawnstar and Stormhold.
Yeah, so here's Dawnstar up on the screen right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's what I was hoping for that you would have handy.
Yep.
Yes. So these games, I have no experience with.
Glorious graphics.
Yes,
this looks amazing.
Oh my God, thank you. Yes, I was really hoping you'd have some graphics for these handy. Perfect. So
this is a video feed. It looks like static graphics. This is the way the game played. Things just didn't move that much.
No, it was a lot of, honestly, it was like a graphical like.
This is like the early 90s Wolfenstein style. Yes. Return to Castle Wolfenstein style type of dungeon.
Right. Incredibly low frame rate. It was more of almost like a interactable text adventure, so to speak, or like one of those styles of things from way back in the day, even before Wolfenstein, like Catacomb or something like that. Mm-hmm. So these are again, I've got files for this. I've heard they are incredibly small, but again, that's what you're going to get for a game like this. I unfortunately don't have a lot on the storyline to them. I'm sure there can't be all that much that's integral to the series, but I will be able to.
It doesn't seem like there's a whole much.
From what I've just read on them, I've never seen too much of a tie-in. Like there's just little bits here or there, but again, you have your classes. These are not open worlds. They're essentially corridor games. Yeah, and actually, I was going to say Benefactor actually confirmed for us. He's like, you can find what story there is on the Imperial Library, but there is very little out there. It's like these were released, but again, are more of a, hey, this was a stopping point along the way to where you get. I'll be very curious to play these. I would hope I can beat one of these in a single stream, but who knows? Like sometimes I get myself fed way over my head with some of these old games. But again, the ambition to the series was there in these, but we'd be remiss to not mention that they do exist. So the travel games are kind of a very, very unique little series of spin-offs right around the time, right before Morrowind kind of launched Elder Scrolls into the popularity that it's become.
Yeah, so
that moves us into. Yeah, I was going to say you got something to add to. But
it's not a whole lot. I mean, these. I mean,
sounds like the game in general. Not a whole lot.
Yeah, if you lived through this period of time as a gamer and were paying attention to gaming news and the things that were going on, these things, like you would have heard, like, oh, they're putting an Elder Scrolls game out on this mobile device and all of those kinds of things. But I mean, this is how these games were back then. Like there was there was no anticipation of like, oh, there's going to be some depth to this. No, it was like, no, there's just a bunch of static screens with stats that move up and down, and you can hit a button. And I don't know that I ever was super engaged in anything that was like this for very long. Maybe when I was a kid and I was playing through like old DOS games, because this is what you had. Like if you wanted to do a dungeon crawler on an old DOS computer, then this is as good as it got. But yeah, that was about it.
And I assume they were back. I mean, I don't know. I didn't own these on my flip phone, but I would guess they were probably like $1.99 or something. I mean, if you're,
they would have been pretty cheap.
Would be so it's like, for $1.99 game, it's like you're going to get like Centipede or Tetris or something like that. It's like if you're going for an adventure game or an RPG, it's like I kind of assume it's going to just be like, how much are you going to get for $1.99? Yeah. It's like a tech product of the time, which that's fine. It led us to where we are. So that brings us to our final two modern mobile games, because they're not fully mobile, because you could also play them while on the PC, at least with Elder Scrolls Legends, which we'll go with first, which is a card game. It's actually not. It's not. Yes, it is a CCG or collectible card game, and from my perspective, I actually played this game a lot.
I like this game. I like this a lot.
I also like this game. It makes me sad that this game is not in active development, is I believe the exact terminology that they have said. It still works. It's still up. It's a free-to-play game with, the ability to buy packs and all sorts of stuff.
Right. This is to jump in here real quick. This was a game that existed because Hearthstone is a thing. So about 6 years ago, I think it was, the Blizzard, the company that does World of Warcraft, decided, okay, well, let's make a card game, a collectible card game, kind of like Magic the Gathering, but simpler, that you can play on your computer, and now you can play it like on your phones and things like that too. And let's just put it out there, see how it does. And it turns out it was a really good idea. It sold a ton. There's millions of people who play Hearthstone. So that basically created a new popular genre for many of these other studios to chase after. So Elder Scrolls did it. The Witcher did it with Gwent. There's a number of these other studios, IPs, that all decided, okay, well, collectible card games are a thing now. Let's all do that. And so, of course, we got an Elder Scrolls collectible card game, and it's cool. Like, whereas Hearthstone is kind of cartoony and it's got like kind of the WoW cartoony, silly vibe going on, this has that more serious, kind of darker Elder Scrolls vibe. And over time, they released expansion packs with new cards based around different themes, like the Dark Brotherhood or the Argonians, or even specific events in the history and the stories.
Very good.
Yeah.
They were fleshed out storylines that you would play through, and instead of random encounters or, boss battles, so to speak, you would fight your enemies in like card battles. That was how they were done, and the story would be given to you in between, and honestly during the fights themselves. Sometimes the battlefield would change while you were doing things. It was a unique concept where you had two lanes, and you could have different effects via the different lanes. They had puzzles that they would have for some of the expansion packs that they didn't have necessarily too much story to them. Some of them were like, here's the scene set up, and you've got your cards and they've got their cards set up, and it's basically like a logic puzzle of how do you win in one turn with what's on the table type of deal.
Right.
So that was also another creative thing. There were a lot of different things to it that were very interesting about it.
Yeah, and it was par for the course. A lot of these collectible card games did those kinds of things. But what's notable about it is that some of the storylines are, they're canon. These are like legitimate storylines that are on par with anything that you're going to get in something like Elder Scrolls Online. And I'm sure saying like there's a storyline in a collectible card game is probably hard for some people to understand if you haven't done it, because generally you think like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, and you think, okay, so like Lotus is going to challenge me, or he's going to say, give me a random player to compete with, and then we're going to play cards against each other. And yes, that's how it goes most of the time. But there's a whole other solo player side of the game, like there is with Hearthstone, where you go through a series of different story events that play out, and then you have to play against like the next enemy that you come across. And that's the character you're playing against. And in that case, that character you're playing against, it doesn't have like some random assortment of packs of cards that they opened up and formed into a deck the way that you or I would. They have a very specifically crafted deck that is built to be very good at one or two or three things that you then, like Lotus is saying, have to puzzle out the way that you would beat that deck with. And some of them are
challenging, like very challenging.
Right. And Kung Fu Kangaroo mentioned in chat that one of the things notable about this is that you didn't need to purchase anything. Like you could just unlock everything in the game through playing it enough and getting enough rewards and enough in-game currency to then buy the other things in the game. So it wasn't built in a way that it necessarily needed you to spend money.
Yes. And to his point, I actually beat everything in the entire game without spending any money on it. I've beaten every story quest. I unlocked all the cards. I did everything without paying for it. And then once I was completed, I bought something for $20 just because I felt like I was like, well, I got
something.
I was like, I might as well pay for something because I enjoyed it and I didn't feel like they strong-armed me into like, come on, buy stuff, do stuff. You could buy the story expansions. All of it was literally earnable, which I loved. So as a result, I was like, well, then I want to pay what I want to pay. Like $20 for a mobile game is actually kind of what I consider like, look, if this is fleshed out and I don't feel like I'm being hosed, then fine, I will give you $20. Like that's whatever.
So you have Lotus to thank for the fact that this is no longer in active development.
Yeah, I was going to say, I paid for it right around the time that they were like, well, I guess nobody's going to buy anything. And then they got my $20 and they were like, it's too late, get out.
It's done. It's done.
It's all done, man. You had your chance. But no, it was it's very user friendly, I find. And to be fair, just because it's not in active development, it don't feel like you can't jump in and test it now. Honestly, definitely do so. They're actually quite generous with some of their events these days because they just like to have people on the servers. And they run events still. It's just all in automatic mode. It's just maintenance mode, essentially. So if you don't want to miss out, test it out. Don't pay for anything until you determine if you like it, because it's still there for you. It might not be one day, who knows? Also, just because it was mentioned in chat, and I want to just show that it is now it's limited. It's not the whole thing. However, people had mentioned that it's really cool that it would be neat if there was like a physical card game. There isn't, but there are actually Elder Scrolls Legends cards. This is every one that they made.
Nice. Lotus just held up, what is that, like a dozen?
It looks like about a dozen cards.
Yeah.
What they did was they had them available at things like PAX East and these promo events. When you would play the game at the demo stations, a lot of times you could get a pack of the cards, and they did a couple different packs. So like there's a very limited amount of the cards available, but yes, there was a set of cards. Now, some of the rules of the game would kind of make it very difficult to have a physical card version of the game that worked because things change and stuff like that. Right. But at the same time, seeing the artwork on physical cards, because that is a huge highlight of this game, the artwork is gorgeous.
Oh, the art,
so much of the stuff.
Yeah, the artwork looks gorgeous in the game. Yes. Let alone, I would imagine. Can you hold one of the cards up to the screen?
Sure.
Like, in the real world. On the cards.
They're like
They're shiny.
holographic too. So like it's trying to even not get it against the light. So they actually have like a gloss holographic coat to them, which kind of makes them hard to even show on camera.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they're very, very detailed and they're beautiful, the artwork. And it was done by a lot of different artists. Very, really inside baseball. And this really has no... If you happen to use any of the emotes on my channel on Twitch, they are designed by the UI designer of Elder Scrolls Legends. I didn't know it when I contracted him to make my art, but he said he'd be happy to. And when he did it, I was like, wow, these came out amazing. And he just said, yeah, I was really excited to work on like Hermaeus Mora emotes or whatever. And then once Elder Scrolls Legends launched, he was like, by the way, I was NDA'd. I couldn't tell you. I've been doing the art for this. So all I've been doing is drawing Elder Scrolls stuff this whole time. I was like, that's amazing. So yeah, that's it was a neat little thing that I got to unintentionally be tethered to that I had no idea at the time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Can't recommend Legends enough to try it out if you haven't. It's great. It's great and it's free.
Yeah, go try it out. It's definitely, if you enjoy anything that's like a collectible card game, or you've never even tried a collectible card game before, this one's absolutely free.
I learned how to play collectible card games just to play this game.
And it's not that hard. And the tutorial will walk you through each of the cards, tells you exactly what it does. You'll pick it up as you go. It's really not hard to learn.
Nope.
So that leaves just one game left.
Yep. And it had a very contentious launch, so to speak. And that is the Elder Scrolls Blades, which is another mobile game. As we had mentioned, the last one, it's on phone and PC. This game was listed to be on several things. It's currently still just it's on phone, and it is now also on the Nintendo Switch. So there are two ways to play this as well. It is not, I believe you can get some type of like thing to put it on your PC, but I don't believe it's native PC yet. Still.
Yeah, if it's on a phone, you can get an emulator.
Right.
Games.
Right. Really. But it has a very, very strong Skyrim style art.
Yeah. So if you just watched the intro that we put up on the screen, the very first thing you do is kill a Thalmor.
Yes.
With flames behind him. Like it gives you right at the beginning, like the satisfying idea of like, okay, this is how you swing your weapon in the game. Kill this Thalmor is basically
kill this
what
Thalmor.
Yeah.
So I was going to say another for the Pact right there, even though the Pact would have been long disbanded at this point in the time frame. But Elder Scrolls Blades, what's the best way to explain Blades? Blades is like a weird mix of several different games to give the feeling of Elder Scrolls, but at the same time, it's not an open world game.
It is the modern equivalent. I mean, it is the modern equivalent, the modern evolution of those other old phone games. I mean, it really is.
It really is.
Most of the time, you're walking down corridors. If anything branches, it doesn't go too far until you find the end with like a little treasure chest or something. You have these little quests to go into a place that takes you maybe 5 minutes to work your way through and kill these monsters or find something. And then sometimes there's hidden things in the walls. And then after you do that, you get your rewards. You might get some new fancy item. You get your money, you get your supplies, and then you go back to your little town and you fix up your town. And that's the core loop for the most part.
Right. Yeah. Pick adventure, go on adventure, collect junk from adventure, sell junk or craft with junk, upgrade town, because then your smithies get better because you have more access to them. And it's just a loop of like, improve your town to then go quest at better stuff, improve your town more. And in between there are stories. They're fine. They're fine is actually the best way
little things. They're like, hey, this village was sacked by a bunch of goblins and I can't find my sister. Can you go look for her?
Right.
Stuff like that.
It's simple. The main quest is it's interesting enough. It's nothing super deep or lore centric. So if you're going in there for some deep lore, you're not going to really get it from this game. But the little side stories are neat. And the history of the town is kind of cool. And you eventually, you get to make it your own, really. it's not just repair things. Like you can design stuff in all sorts of different ways around the town. There's a lot of cosmetic stuff. They do events, which are also neat, where you have, what was I going to say? Like they have the Witches Festival, and the town will be nighttime. Like, and it's got creepy sound effects and stuff like that. The reason, so saying this again, I really enjoyed this game. When this game first launched, it kind of was marred in a lot of controversy to start with, because it was, you could do whatever you wanted, but it had a lot of pay to win stuff in it, which you can still, I haven't played it too much recently, but you can still buy all sorts of junk. They had this chest thing that was very, very contentious at the start, where when you would find chests in dungeons, you would collect the chest, and then when you would try to open it, it would have a timer.
Yeah, they had that, and I think 2 or 3 years ago when this was being developed. That was kind of the new thing in mobile games was, we'll let you do all sorts of stuff, but after you play for about 10 minutes, you're going to have to start waiting. And then if you want to speed that up, that's why you have to spend money.
You give us some money.
Yeah.
So one of the things, now, again, I'm not into conspiracy theories, so take all of this however you would like. This is just my experience with the product. I was not interested in spending money until I proved that I could beat it, because that's how I tend to do these things. I was like, well, I don't want to be strong-armed in. I want to be able to beat this game. And then if I can beat the game, I don't care what other people do. It's a single player game. So it's like, if I want the option to buy stuff, that's great, whatever. I won't really utilize that. But if I beat the game, then maybe I'll get something, because like, okay, you didn't trick me into it or whatever. I enjoyed it. I went through, I beat this main campaign. The end boss was definitely a little bit quarter munchery, I guess, for the modern day, because man, that thing had some cheap attacks. But I overpowered everything and beat it without needing to spend money on it. However, there were a lot of people who didn't like the amount of waiting and stuff like that. I did just kind of like wait for things, but myself and several others in just like the Elder Scrolls community, we didn't, and not that it was us specifically that did it, because there were millions of people that played this game. It was actually like the #1 game on like mobile for like a while, actually. So to combat basically the public opinion of you shouldn't sell Daedric artifacts that just give you superpowers, like that's stupid, they took it out the following patch. People complained about how annoying the chest timers were. I thought they were pretty annoying, but I was like, it's not game breaking. But yeah, this game would be much better without them. They removed them. The game came out much more aggressively frustrating and very mobile gamey. And then as it progressed, it became much more friendly to the player. And it, again, you could assume that they tried to do the whole maybe start at one end and back it up so that you get to where you want to be, and that's where they are, but it makes it look like they listened.
Right.
There were so many things directly done based on, at least in my personal sphere of hearing what people were complaining about, the solutions suggested were the ones that they took and implemented in the game. Or in one case with the timer thing, everybody was like, oh, you got to tone these timers down. You can't have them be like an hour long. You can't have them be like 5 hours long, whatever. They just removed them entirely. And I was like, oh, that was even more than what people asked for. So personally, I didn't feel like, I don't know, it didn't feel super nefarious to me. And I also played with them. So it really was just like, oh, this is just even better now. And it turned into a game that's a great little jump in, jump out mobile game, where you can earn currency in game now. And they've added all sorts of improvements to the combat system to make it more engaging rather than just slashy. Honestly, I think it's a lot of fun, and I still jump back in for content expansions because they do still add little storylines here or there, or they do events and stuff like that. I jump in and do those, but I'm so completely overpowered in the game. I have nothing to progress toward. I come back just for, like, I'm head to toe in enchanted dragonbone armor, and my town is a metropolis. So I'm like, okay, what else can I do?
You've become Tiber Septim, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But to that thing, when they release a new storyline or, you know, a new event, I'll jump in and play it. And it's like, that's fine with me. Like, that doesn't bother me. So again, not super lore rich, but another interesting addition to the series. And, you know, it's got a decent amount of customization, which a lot of people enjoy in these games. So again, free. So you can try it out. If it's your cup of tea, there's a lot to it. They've added PvP arenas and stuff like that. It's much more fleshed out than when it first launched. And honestly, I played it at launch and I still enjoyed it. And it's done nothing that I've seen except get better over time. So
and the Switch version is great. Like if you don't like playing games on your phone, because I don't prefer to play games on my phone, especially games that require lots of input. Because there's no tactile feedback. You know, you're just tapping the screen and moving things. And it's always weird to kind of hold your phone. The Switch version is so much better because you just hit buttons and you've got like controls. And it works just as well. I mean, it looks just as good. So, and both are free. So it's totally worth jumping into either on your phone or on the Switch. You guys want to check it out?
The environments are also very pretty for a phone/mobile game. The character models look whatever. They look kind of Skyrim-like.
They look like they pulled a lot of the base models and textures out of Skyrim. I don't know if they did. Certainly. But
I'm not sure either. But
they look very similar.
Yeah, and the art style, you know, from game to game has its own flair. This definitely feels like a fourth era Skyrim style thing, except you're just in a different region. So if that's something you like as well, that could be another draw for you because it's very pretty.
Well, thanks for the recaps, Lotus. This has been really cool. Yeah, these are a lot of these are games that I don't plan to ever go back and try, but to have your perspective on it and to look at some of the footage and things is fun to see that. And the newer ones are definitely worth checking out, especially because they're free. So if you're looking for more Elder Scrolls stuff, why not, right? Right. But we got some news to get to, and we've got to thank our patrons. So why don't we go ahead and move on with that?
Sounds great.
The skies are marked with numberless sparks, each a fire, and every one a sign.
Patrons, I said, you guys are fantastic. You guys are amazing, and you are what helps us to keep doing this show, especially our Tier 5 patron, Noodle Al Dente, which I can never get tired of saying. Noodle, I hope you continue to subscribe forever, not just because you're supporting the show, but because I get to say Noodle Al Dente every episode.
The most generous pasta dish on Twitch.
It's amazing. Yeah, all 44 of you who support the show, it's phenomenal. At some point, I hope we continue to grow, and when we get to the point where we hit recurring $500 a month amounts, I'll have to get an Elder Scrolls tattoo. I'm going to have to find your contact for your guy. Maybe I should contact him and get him to design a cool Elder Scrolls something to put on my arm or something.
It does great work.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Maybe I need to do that. But anyway, if you want to help out the show, if you want to check out the different kinds of rewards you can get, including ad-free episodes, early episodes, being able to join us on future episodes of the show, any of that stuff, go to patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. And we're coming up on the last Thursday of the month next week. So next week is our patron episode. So you've got a week still to sign up for that if you'd like to join us. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people potentially for that episode. You're welcome to come join us and talk about whatever topic we decide to talk about. I always let you guys kind of flesh that out on Discord. I'll offer some suggestions too, but it's always a good time. So come join us and check out the Patreon. And thank you again to everyone who helps support the show.
Yes, you're entirely brilliant. Conquering madness and all that. Blah, 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 blah.
All right. So speaking about other cool news, I guess we could say, speaking about, the Jesters Festival is coming up for Elder Scrolls Online. For those of you who don't play Elder Scrolls Online, first, what the heck are you doing? You should
give it a try.
Give it a try.
It's on Game Pass now. If you have that,
freaking Game Pass. I think can you still get it for like $1 for the first month to try it out?
It's very inexpensive for just base game, and
it's amazing.
again, at this point, I don't have a Game Pass, but I know a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're curious about it and you have Game Pass on either PC or Xbox, it's just like, it's there anyways as part of your other subscription.
Yeah.
See if it's for you.
See if you like it.
Lore or, yeah, I was going to say, there's very little barrier to entry, which is always what I think is important.
Yes.
Make the decisions for yourself. And if it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to get in and try it out, give it a shot. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not.
Give it a shot. And come join us on the Lorecasters Guild. If you decide to jump in and you're on PC or any of the platforms, we've got guilds everywhere. Our biggest group is on PC. And every Friday nights we have events now. So you can come join us and play some stuff on Friday nights. And there's lots of people to help you out all over the place to give you recommendations on stuff, and lots of people of different skill levels and experience, and you can group up with anybody in the guild if you want to join us. So, but let's get into the details about the Jesters Festival. We've got a big event coming, as we normally do, this time of year, every time. This is one of my favorite events, Lotus, because it is absolutely so wacky. I mean, I love the extremes of these games, like the dark, sinister, world-ending evil, and the heroic triumph over that, and then the like super wacky stuff of like, this is a dangerous world and people are doing dumb stuff. And this event is awesome because it allows you to do dumb stuff. The event will be live from Thursday, March 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern until Thursday, April 1st. So you've got about a week. I think that's probably exactly a week to join in the festivities. And basically, this is one of those events where you run around the world and you do all these little side quests and you can unlock a whole bunch of things. And speaking about all the fun things that you can unlock from doing the daily quests, I've got a bunch of images and things up on the screen to show you guys about some of the things that you can unlock. And side note, there are some new things this year, some new daily quests, not just things like dress up the pig like the queen and stuff like that, which is funny. But there's some new ones for you to do as well. So let's take a look. So first of all, you can unlock Cadwell's Kitchen Arms style pages, which is great. Here we go. There's good old Cadwell with his pot on his head and his dishes for his armor. Yep. That's some good stuff there. I don't know who doesn't want to have that on at least one
his
alt.
Weapons, all cooking utensils as well, like forks and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Here's all the different stuff you can get. Like the dagger is a fork. The sword is like a skewer. The axe is a spoon, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a spoon.
There's all sorts of funny utensils and things and all the stuff. So these are great. And then you can also get fragments of 2 mementos, the Festive Noisemaker and the Jester's Festival Joke Popper. Check this out. This is the Festive Noisemaker. You can spin that around. And then there's the Jester's Festive Joke Popper. So you can have those if you want to use those. So this kind of stuff is always fun to be able to, especially when you're hanging out with other players and just kind of, waiting for world bosses to pop or whatever, to kind of pull this kind of stuff out. Then there's the jokey steelies to sell at vendors. There are rune boxes containing the Cherry Blossom Branch or Jester's Scintillator mementos. Check this out. Here's the Cherry Blossom Branch. So you can toss those around. And then
those are great for
just a little hop. There's just your scintillator. So it's a little hop thing you can do.
Yeah, the cherry blossoms, I was going to say, tend to really be a thing whenever any people do pledges of Mara or are RPing, I assume, a wedding or whatever. But like every now and then I will see people just like dousing an entire city street in those things. So that's definitely a memento that tends to be used quite a bit. Then there's the fragments of the Sovereign Sow pet, sow meaning pig. So check this guy out. Yep, you get to make.
Oh yeah,
you get to make the princess pig.
The princess pig, so good. Who doesn't want a princess pig?
I got princess pig last year, so that's another thing you can.
That's another thing. And then the regal regalia outfit style pages. Check this out. This is pretty fancy. It's kind of an official looking armor set.
I actually don't.
Very regal.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Is that new? That one doesn't look familiar to me, or I just didn't look at it because I'm terrible at fashion.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely, this is brand new Regal Regalia outfit style pages. And
Interesting.
new fragments of the Playful Pranksters surprise box memento, which
Excellent.
is this guy right here, I think, which looks pretty cool too. So yeah, all sorts of cool stuff. And you know, they do these events all year. I don't do all of them, but there are certain ones that I'm more likely to hop into. And this wacky stuff is the best, especially the way the jester's personality makes your character run and he kicks up his legs. That's
oh my god, yeah. A lot of people, the very dramatic run thing. A lot of people use that. I see.
Mm-hmm. It's really good if you play with a controller because you can just push the controller forward a little bit. Yeah. And there's like 3 different variations of the animation. This is one of those
slowly high step.
Yes. This is one of those things that a lot of PC players miss out on because they typically are walking or running. They don't realize that like there are these other variants kind of in between. And if you barely push up on the controller, like you can do this like sauntery high step thing. It's really good for just walking around people waiting for, you know, like dungeon stuff to happen or whatever.
Yep.
Because people like oftentimes people will comment while we're playing. They're like, how did you make your character do that? And it's like, because I'm on PC, right? And I play with a controller on PC. It's the only game I prefer controller on is Elder Scrolls Online. So,
preaching to the choir.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what's coming up. So fun stuff. Jump in on the 25th, which is a week from today, actually. Today's the 18th when we're recording this, so that's coming up. So yeah, go check that out. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff, if you guys, you know, want somebody to reach out to, like, hey, should I pick this on? I have these questions. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. We're here to help answer questions. You know, send us some messages on Twitter or on Discord. And there's a lot of people in our community. Even if I'm not on right in the moment and you ask a question on the Discord, somebody's probably going to pop in and help answer your question. So it's a wonderful community. Also, just last final note, we have a weekly, not only a weekly guild event that happens on Friday nights for our PC group at 10 p.m. Eastern, but we're going to start doing what I hope will be weekly just community events for the Robots Radio community. And so we're going to get together on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern or 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, and play Among Us. So it should be a fun time. I'll be streaming it. So if you can't join us, you can always just watch. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun thing for us to just kind of do as a community and, you know, accuse each other of being murderers, because what community doesn't want to spend their time getting mad at each other? So it's going to be great. So you're welcome to come join us there as well. So, man, jam-packed episode, Lotus.
Yeah, I was going to say it took three episodes to cover just an overview of the history of Elder Scrolls games and how they relate to each other and don't relate to each other. And it's like, there's so much more you could delve into if you really wanted to get into the nitty gritty, because there's so much unique about them. But it was like, man, 3 episodes for just kind of like a run through of the history in gaming, at least, because we didn't even get into stuff like Modiphius's board game tabletop thing or anything like that. It's
yeah.
There's so much to this property, both in game and out, as you can probably tell it for anybody watching the video, as the backgrounds behind us both have giant flags and merchandise and all sorts of stuff behind us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Did you see? I also I did my loot box.
Did you? Yeah, I got mine too. Actually, my scarf is surrounding my other scarf on my chair.
Oh, this guy looks awesome. If you guys want to see all this stuff, check the videos up on my YouTube. Mine is back here, and the little there's like a, what is it? It's like just a, what's it called? The thing you put on your head.
It's a hat.
A hat? It's like one of those like,
but it goes down. It looks like that
beanie type hats.
A Nordic helmet.
Yeah, but it comes over your eyes with the little holes. It's so funny, so good. Yeah, it looks like a Nordic iron helmet.
I'm not going to actually stretch because I'm not flexible, and it'll just end in catastrophe. But I'm currently wearing the socks.
Nice,
like militant ordinator one.
Yeah, I haven't put them on yet, but
mine are on my feet because but I'm not going to stretch in a position where I would wear them or can show them. So
yeah,
imagine what robots just showed, except I'm wearing them. So there you go. Boom,
there you go. There you go. Yeah, imagine his feet. Wonderful visual. Well, Lotus, you got anything else to talk about before we go? Anything to shout out?
No, not too much. As always, is trying to remember to, let people know about other stuff that I do, which I'm not great at usually. I was going to say, we've got hopefully another episode of Tales of Tamriel this Saturday evening. We'll be recording live at 11 p.m. Eastern. And if all goes well, I'll probably stream again. Aiming to stream Battlespire on Sunday afternoon. My big thing is I've been wanting to get in another Battlespire playthrough, but with all the new Flames of Ambition DLC and champion point system and all the stuff that's hit ESO, that has pretty much been all of my time so far. But yeah, ideally Battlespire on Sunday, but soon either way. And hopefully I can figure out what I'm doing in that game.
Well, good luck. Good luck.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let's see. I've mentioned some of the stuff at the beginning of the show. Reminder, please send us your questions. If you have questions for Zos, you want to know specific things about the new stuff coming out for Elder Scrolls Online, please join us on the Discord. I'm going to post it again while I'm talking about this in the chat, and share some questions. Look for the Questions for Zos channel. Send us your questions, and we will be sending those away and hopefully getting a really cool interview and some answers in the future. Let's see, other things to note before we go. There was one that slipped my mind. Bob Chachinsky of the Red Diamond Courier, or Courier. How does he say it? He says it. He's got like that California accent.
Yeah, I know.
Courier. Courier. The Red Diamond Courier. I don't know. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I do not have.
I can't do it.
I'm as far removed from the California accent being in Boston as physically possible, and still being in the States.
Right. But he and I are working on some videos for the Robots Radio channel where we will be testing different builds for ESO and comparing them against each other. So I think what he's building them out, and then I'm helping edit the videos down and finalize the videos. But we're going to be testing things like, the Stamsork build from Zynode versus Dots Gaming or Allcast. Yeah. Because, everybody does these cool builds. I'm sure all of them are good, but which one's the best? Which one's rotation is easier than the other? Which one, if you're actually just, a regular dude trying them out, what kind of DPS can you get using each? So those will be up on the Robots Radio channel. We're trying to knock out maybe one a week. But man, Bob's the guy to be testing this stuff out because he plays this game incessantly, and I'm super interested in the data. We're going to be doing like breakdowns of all the different things, and and I'm finally going to know which build should I actually go for rather than just picking one at random. So I'm excited about that.
I really like this idea just on the purpose of not even so much because you kind of made the thing of which one's better. The best part about this is there's no right way to play Elder Scrolls Online.
Right. Right.
Now,
and I don't know that we're going to define one as better than the other, but we will be able to say this one's rotation was easier to learn. This one has this one has more burst damage, but this one has more sustain. We'll be able to figure out the nuances. This one's cheaper to build, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. This is super easy to just get the gear for, or the skills for, or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting just to have those all compared to each other side by side, because as much as I like Endgame, oftentimes I don't play meta.
Right.
I play off meta stuff.
Yeah.
And people ask for builds that I use on stream. And when I say some of the sets, sometimes people are like, why? I was like,
what is that? Yeah.
Nobody else uses it, but I like it. And, other times I do like the meta. It just feels right. So.
Yeah, Buddy Destiny in chat says it would also be helpful for newish people to show how much DPS is achievable at different CP levels, like 300, 600, 900. And that's another thing that we're going to be, Bob and I specifically talked about that. I think a lot of people who search these builds aren't necessarily grinding endgame content. They're not, CP 900 doing trials. They're people who may have recently hit, level 50 CP 160, and they want to know what gear set should I just start looking for,
Right. And I mean, you can pick stuff up, but you need some type of a build to just do stuff, regardless of what it is.
Yeah. So be looking for that. If you're not following the Robots Radio YouTube channel, go ahead and jump in there, and you'll see pretty soon that we will have these videos up. We're hoping to knock out the first one this weekend, so maybe early next week it'll be posted, and then hopefully every week from then. And if we do post them and you check them out, please like and subscribe. But not only do that, but comment any questions or clarity that you want about the builds in the videos, because we can do follow-ups on this stuff or answer your questions in the comments potentially. So, and that'll help us understand what things you're looking for in these kinds of videos too, so we can keep getting better at doing the content that you guys would enjoy and find valuable. So, super excited about that. I think Bob's gonna knock it out of the park, and I'll get to learn stuff as well. So that'll be fun. So that's it for this week, everybody. Thank you for being here. Stay tuned. In 14 minutes, we will be starting the Dungeons and Dragons Lorecast. We've been going through all the different kinds of dragons in Dungeons and Dragons, and all the lore surrounding them, which is super interesting because so much of that has influenced and been pulled into these other series like Elder Scrolls, because Dungeons and Dragons was kind of the progenitor of a lot of that stuff. So if you want to check that out, stay tuned. We'll be back in 13 minutes. And Beelzebub, thank you for giving another gift sub. And Lotus, I think that's it. You good?
All right, sounds good.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Until next week, stay safe and pick up one of the free games. Try them out. We'll see you later.
For sure. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. If you have something you'd like to contribute to the show, please reach out to us at elderscrollslorecast@gmail.com or on Twitter @ESO Lorecast. I really appreciate you listening, and I'd love to hear from you soon.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.